You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And joining us, a guest host this week, filling in for Mr. Cheatham. Who that be over there?
It's me, Nathan Curry.
Mr. Nathan Curry. If you don't really recognize him from the previous podcast he's been on, well, because he cut all his hair off. And
yeah, he put it on his face.
Yeah, and he also voiced a very significant role in Margaret's Monsters, a former Red Moon Productions audio drama.
You were Margaret, right?
Yeah, he was.
That's what I thought.
Had to squeeze my legs real tightly together to get that
to get that high-pitched voice.
That's right. Yep.
So Keith obviously is, he's missing this week. It's funny, ever since we started live, we've not really killed anybody on the show. It used to be like our common...
the thing.
Yeah. People would die whenever they were missing. But now we just get people to fill in their spot.
Well, that's how big we've gotten. Everybody just wants to be a part.
They all want to be a part of this. Is that how you feel, Nathan?
I'm kind of nervous about being here now.
Really?
No, he's not. Those aren't the shoes aren't that big to fill.
So Nathan, no, that means that you could easily fill. You could easily fill Keith's shoes.
I love you, Keith. I miss you.
Are you gonna do him, justice this week, being on the show?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You will.
Oh,
Have you seen the
always
movie?
Does.
Totally.
Have you seen the movie from this week?
No.
well, Keith's already got one up on you.
I
Then
was gonna say he's not gonna do you justice, Keith. You'll be back. Don't worry. But I don't know. I think he's out next week too. So heck, before you know it, Nathan, you may be just permanently filling in.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Even though Erin has reached her limit.
Yeah.
For almost a year.
Yeah, that's true. Erin, I don't know.
She brings in the views though.
Yeah, she does.
It's like when she's on here, there's always more views.
It's like, I wonder why that is.
I think her whole church is.
Do you think like the three of us together, we're not handsome enough to like bring in the views? We have to have the one girl on
There's
here.
no blondes in here.
We need a baby or a puppy.
Well, you have a baby.
Right, Joshua, where are you?
Yeah.
Hopefully he's asleep. Isn't that where he should be? At 8 o'clock?
Well, believe it or not,
9
Nathan,
What's the matter with
before
you?
we get into our movie review this week, which is Blinded by the Light, an indie flick hitting theaters.
Revved up like a deuce in the middle of the night.
It is a
nice.
deuce. Everybody used to think it was douche.
Douche. Yeah, I did.
A lot of people thought it was ripped up like a douche.
Ripped
and it's
up
like, why would
like
you
a
rip a
douche?
douche? And why does it have to be in the middle of the night? Is it a secret? No.
Honestly,
Because
if you
nobody can hear it
ripped up
in the middle
a
of the night.
douche, or a deuce, if you ripped up a deuce,
Revved up like a deuce.
or revved a deuce up.
I think it's a motor, an engine in a car or something like that.
I don't know. But Nathan, you actually, when you got here, before we hit air, you were feeling a little tired.
Yeah.
And why is that? Maybe does that have something to do with Joshua?
It's just fatherhood, you know.
Yeah. Is it wearing on you?
No, I love it. It's just some days you just need to catch up.
Sean knows a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I do.
Would you
I
fault
mean, hell,
him?
my 6-year-old woke us up at 3:40 the other morning to
Why
say
was
that he
that?
peed in the bed.
God love you.
And I'm just like, one side of me wanted to be like, dude, you're 6 years old. You're supposed to have
Get a hold
stopped doing
on
that.
this. Come on.
But then the other side was just like, okay, let's go
let's go
clean it up.
Yeah.
And
See, you're better
luckily
dad
we have a
than-
bunk bed, so he moved from the top down to the bottom, and I worked on cleaning that mattress the next morning.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it went all the way through, didn't it?
No,
Soaked that
no,
mattress?
memory foam is it stops it pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah. So just FYI.
You're a better dad than I would
And
be
the rubber
someday.
sheet was purchased on Amazon today.
Well, then
So,
there you go. That's
Morgan,
all
if you're
need.
listening, we need to
That's
go to the store. Like,
Just go to
it's gonna
Amazon.
happen. It's gonna happen.
You can get that Prime 1-day shipping.
There you go.
Both of my kids slept really good through the night. I mean, I'm sorry if that offends you, but like both of our sons
Nathan,
like
not
slept
the same for
all
you?
night long. We never had any problems like that. So
No, he sleeps great. He just, gone are the 3-hour naps. Now they're about 30-minute intervals.
Oh, wow.
Once you learn babies then they flip the script and you have to relearn them all over again. It's which is so much fun.
But from what I've heard from all the times my parents yelled at me, it's like it doesn't change for 18 years.
No.
They keep doing that.
Yeah.
So
Basically.
there's more in store. I mean, you have so much
Oh,
more
yeah.
to look
I'm
for.
36, and I
Yeah.
flip the script on my parents all the time.
See that?
You
So-
still do.
That's right.
Yeah, I did it this week by, shaving my head.
There you go.
Well, that's the kind of flipping we don't mind, I guess, as,
It looks
well,
good.
I'm not a parent. So.
You don't know my parents.
Oh, well, I know they hate me, so that's all I need to know.
Dang, it's because you don't visit.
They thought Keith
You don't call or text or visit enough.
I do, yeah.
No
It's like,
joke.
Get in line, all right?
No joke. When I first told them about Keith, they thought he was black.
Yeah, no, I
So-
remember that. And they were kind of disappointed
Really?
that he wasn't black.
Based off of nothing. They were just like,
Why?
oh, we just assumed Keith was black.
I don't even know a black person named Keith.
Right.
I think it's a good name for a black person, though.
No, it is.
I
It's a
think
good name
Keith-
for
Keith-
anybody,
yeah,
but
true.
I'm serious. Like, what did they just think he was your one black friend or what?
Keith just sounds like a black name to them.
Nah, see, I don't say that. I just think it's a good name for a black person, but I don't think I hear Keith and think they're black.
All right, we need to take the we need to tone, we need to tone down the racism a little bit. Every time you say black people, you're
getting close.
That's
you're getting close
ammunition.
to the threshold.
Yeah, you're getting close.
Yeah,
You
you're
can't say that
you're
anymore.
No. We got a great
So, yeah.
show. Great show planned. We're obviously going to be reviewing Blinded by the Light.
Yeah.
All about Bruce Springsteen music. But we got a great unique weekly segment, Story Time, this week. And since we have a film that's all focused on music, we figured why not get a topic of hand that deals with the same thing. So our unique weekly segment is going to focus around the first time we ourselves were inspired by music. So it's going to be, I know, already touching some sentimental memories there. All right, guys, should we just go ahead and dive right into it?
Let's do it.
Here is our review of Blinded by the Light. The following is a review by Keith Cheatham. Have you ever experienced something that changed your life? Read a book, saw a movie, or listened to a band that felt as if it was specifically speaking to you? Something that you immediately fell in love with, that challenged the way you think. Sometimes art speaks to us in ways that affect us more than we even know. In Blinded by the Light, the music of Bruce Springsteen will inspire and change Javed Khan to shoot for his dreams. But it will also send him on a journey that teaches him what's most important in life. Blinded by the Light is based on the memoir Greetings from Bury Park, Race, Religion, and Rock and Roll by Sarfraz Manzoor, who co-wrote the script with director Garuda Chadha. It is a coming-of-age story of Javed Khan, who is based on Manzoor's own life and experiences. Javed, played by Vivek Kalra, is the son of Malik and Noor Khan, portrayed by Kulvadir Greer and Meera Ganatra, respectively, Pakistani immigrants now living in Luton, England, a small town a few hours outside of London. Javed is an inspiring writer who struggles with pleasing his father and the clash of his family's South Asian culture against England's, the only home he's ever known. Malik just wants his son to be successful and maintain his family's heritage, and disapproves of his son's poems and writings. While Javed begins attending university and meets a new friend, Roops, played by Aaron Fergura, his life will forever be changed as he is introduced to the music of Bruce Springsteen. Blinded by the Light is a powerful film about following one's dreams while not sacrificing your identity and family along the way. Its themes are ones director Chadha are very familiar with, as she has frequently made films revolving around immigrant Indian women, adjusting to life in London, and is most known for directing Bend It Like Beckham. Perhaps these shared themes throughout all of her films made her the perfect choice to helm Manzoor's story. Blinded by the Light nails its message, promoting family and heritage, while even advocating for the idea of the American dream, as Javed's perseverance wins him a trip to America, a point at which the conflict between him and his father comes to head. The conflict is the driving force behind the whole movie, as Javed is beginning to discover who he wants to be opposed to what his father wishes for him. The scenes between Javed and Malik are the best in the film, and displays a father-son relationship that is relatable amongst all people and cultures. Malik just wants the best for his son, and while two may not see eye to eye, the father-son bond is without a doubt the most emotionally compelling part of the film. All of this, of course, is brilliantly set to a soundtrack of pure Springsteen. Lyrics pop up on screen as the words and themes correlate and convey the emotion and story happening in front of our eyes. Use of the themes from a musician's songs to complement the film's story is something we've seen once already this year with Danny Boyle's film Yesterday. But both movies using famous artists' songs to further their narrative is the only similarity. Blinded by the Light is unique from Yesterday as Javed's story is a fictionalized version of Manzoor's actual life. Manzoor became an avid Springsteen fan, and the music inspired him to become a writer and achieve his goals in life. The movie uses these songs to show us not only what Javed is himself listening to, but how the songs feed his emotions and clue us into how the songs of Springsteen affected his life. As stated already, the bond between Javed and his father is the driving force behind the whole film, and this could not be possible without the exceptional performances of Kalra and Greer. The entire cast delivers solid performances, but Kalra and Greer are powerhouses whose chemistry really sell the father-son relationship. I would be lying if I said I walked away from the film dry-eyed by its end. With solid acting, cinematography that makes great use of Springsteen's soundtrack, and a coming-of-age story that is universal, Blinded by the Light is a terrific film. After all the summer blockbusters full of action, explosions, and CGI, it's always refreshing to get a film with heart, soul, and a message that is both moral and relatable to people from all walks of life. I give Blinded by the Light 3.5 out of 4 stars.
All right, 3.5 out of 4 stars from Keith Cheatham. I texted Keith right after I got out of the theater because I saw it first, and my initial reaction was 3. So I think we're probably right on par as far as our feelings about the movie. I really wish both of you. I wish everybody could see the movie.
I know.
I wish you could get to see some of these movies.
I'm going to check this one out. This is one that I wanted to review specifically because a lot of times we pass these up for bigger movies that come out, and I'm actually happy. I mean, we talked about Yesterday when we went and saw it in Boston, and that was a smaller film that kind of got overlooked by like Spider-Man at the time, Lion King that was coming out, but it was meant to be kind of under the radar for those who wouldn't go see the big blockbuster. So I kind of like when these films slip in there and you don't know they're coming. But when I saw that this was kind of uncontested last week with no other bigger film coming out, I was like, oh, we've got to. I was like, I want to review this. So I can't wait to see it.
This movie reminds me of like back in the early part of 2000s, you had all of the focus feature films.
Yes.
You had the Dan in Real Life and the Sunshine Cleaning and
Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind.
I mean, all of those movies, those great indie films that just had so much heart and stuff. Like this movie kind of brought me back to the kind of feeling I got when I watched those movies. And I think that's why amongst all of the blockbusters and some of the bigger films, like, it really saddens me that this film's not probably going to get the play that it should.
Right.
I mean, when me and Keith went and saw Chappaquiddick, and that was in theaters when there were some other huge movies coming out, and it was another one of those films where it's like everybody should have went and saw this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it was so well done, but it like you said, it flies under the radar, and that's really sad. I mean, I people like us will see it and appreciate it,
right?
But most moviegoers are going to pick the bigger, the Hobbs and Shaw that's still in theaters, like
exactly.
Or even Neil we were playing online the other night, and he had just went and saw Hobbs and Shaw, and I was like, man, you should have saw this movie, because I mean,
much better.
Hobbs and Shaw was a good movie. We reviewed that, but man, if you can skip a movie like Hobbs and Shaw to see this kind of film where you're going to walk away,
it's worth it,
like feeling good and not just feeling entertained.
Right.
I always say go for it. But the problem is with the smaller films is until you've gone and seen it, or until you
may not be willing to get that chance.
Because I mean, when you're talking about spending money on a movie ticket, most people want to see the most popular film of the time, and it's kind of like that doesn't work so well for these kind of films.
Well, it's funny that you brought that up, because that's kind of what we touted back when MoviePass was the cream of the crop in the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, and even now AMC Stubs A-List, it affords you the opportunity to take a chance and a risk on a movie you might not typically see. And so that's kind of the beauty of having a subscription service like that, is you can almost say, okay, I don't know. I mean, I've seen positive reviews. I don't know how well it's going to be received, but why not? Let's take a stab at it. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what I love. I mean, I first saw the trailer for this when we went and saw yesterday, and there were so many trailers attached to that film alone that because it was independent in and of itself, they were all catering to that crowd.
Right.
So they were all trying to, they were all basically advertising to the same group of people and to try to get the word out for all these other independent films. And it actually got me really excited because I think you had, like you brought up, like Focus Features, Paramount Vantage, like back in the day when early like 2000s when those studios were
Magnolia
Pictures.
Almost every movie
yes.
they put out was so good.
And that's the thing is like you had this time where those movies were actually highly advertised. It was like this film noir almost for our early 2000s where they were like, we want to push
Sundance Film
these
Festival
obscure
winner,
films,
you know,
right?
Yeah.
And now you still have those, but they're few and far in between, and it's almost like we have traded those in.
You almost need that
for the more
rebirth
popular.
again, you know? You almost need that renaissance to come back.
Right.
Ooh, you really do.
You do. I agree. But Sean, I mean, you were fully, impressed by this film. Now, 3 out of 3, instead of 3.5, like Keith. So could you maybe allude to a little bit more as to why you didn't edge it out? And
it would have. I mean, really, I wasn't even thinking about going 3.5. It was either going to be a 3 or a 4. I wasn't going to really meet in the middle of there. It was either.
4.
I mean, I really thought the movie was pretty spectacular, but there were a couple of moments in the film that I felt like were kind of slow, and there was a couple of instances where the dialogue between the father and the son, I thought they definitely revved up my emotions enough to fill my eyes up with tears. But I definitely thought they could have nailed it a little bit harder and brought more out of that scene. And that happened a couple of times. I really didn't think the Javid and the girl, I can't remember her name for the life of me, but his girlfriend in the film, they didn't give them enough time, or at least screen time, to show their relationship blossom into what it ends up being.
Right.
So I felt like they kind of rushed the relationship part and didn't give it enough depth. And almost every scene or everything that takes place in the movie has a Springsteen song that kind of fills in some of the emotions that they don't convey it through dialogue, but they convey it through the song.
Right.
So this is what Bruce says in the song, and it fits with what Javid is feeling right now.
This is how it applies.
Right. And there's so many good. Even you were singing one of them before it started, Nathan. But I mean, there's so many good. I know they were before.
What was that, Nathan?
Sing
it for us again.
She'll let you in her.
I love that song.
You just have to sound like you're pooping. That's
I'm getting
that captures.
I'm getting feedback.
You getting some static?
Getting some static.
What could that be? What static?
Is that
Keith? Is that you?
Yeah.
Are you?
There he is.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Keith, he's here with
you
us.
Surprised me. I was like, what the hell's going on?
He's like, I've got something in my ear.
Yeah.
And it happens to be Keith.
I'm so happy.
You got stuff in your ear. That doesn't sound good.
Got
So
that
Keith,
Dr. Bronner's in my ear.
Hey man, it'll clean it out. I'm telling you, make it feel, get that cold breeze across it.
I know what you're putting in your ear, but that's probably not healthy for it.
No.
Well, no, probably
not at all.
That's how
I'm
your
glad
eardrum
you're
bursts.
on here, Keith. I didn't know you were gonna join.
Right.
So Keith, we've already done your review. 3.5
Yeah,
out of 4 stars.
Yeah, I heard.
So why don't you shed a little bit more insight on it? You, I know, talk about specifically in your review about having shed a tear. Both you and
Just
Sean,
one?
I believe,
I
did.
shed tears.
Multiple tears, yeah.
So it's a
Tears were
tear
shed.
jerker. Go ahead and expand.
Definitely. I mean, Sean. I was listening in. I'm actually watching the show as I'm riding home with.
Oh, good. You're
with
the
another
only one.
Sean. It's funny
You're
'cause,
one of 4
the
people
guy-
watching right now.
You say hi, Sean. You want to say hi? Hi, Sean.
Who's that?
I don't know if you can hear him. That's the guy. A buddy of mine that I came
Well,
to Missouri.
does he have a name, or is he
riding
just that
home.
guy?
I was gonna
No,
say we don't
Sean.
even
He
know
said
who he
hi.
is.
I've said it 3 times. His name's Sean.
Oh,
Hi,
Sean and
Sean.
Sean. Cool.
Hi, Sean.
How do you spell your name, Sean?
He's spelled SHAWN.
That's the wrong way.
That's not. That's he thinks that's the right way.
No.
Well, he's
But
wrong.
I have
He
a
is
friend
wrong.
named Sean who's spelled SEAN.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said that's the girl version, Sean.
No, that's the Sean Connery version. That's
It is the Sean
007's
Connery
version.
He's got you beat on that one.
Yeah.
But no, the movie was it was good. I enjoyed it. I know Sean went and saw it, and texted immediately after and was like, "Oh yeah, that is awesome," and it got me emotional for obvious reasons. So of course, when I saw it, I was like, "Well, yeah, no, I exactly see why he because I know father son
Yes.
motifs get Sean every time.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
but,
Yeah,
Every
it,
time.
it got me. It did definitely. What impressed me was that what they dealt with. I mean, that was in the '80s, and it being about a kid who comes from a Pakistani family, but even still, it was universal. Like you could still relate to like the father-son relationship, and the fact that back then they were dealing. Now people want to cry foul over silly things that aren't truly racism, but like the film displays, like what they actually had to deal with back then when it was really going on, and just all of that with the Bruce Springsteen theme was really impressive. Like it was an odd mixture, but it worked. Like I mean, having the soundtrack and the fact that was based off of his real life, that Bruce Springsteen is something that he used to like get through what he was dealing with.
To cope.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, a coping mechanism for sure.
That's awesome.
But his music also pushed this young guy to fulfill his dreams and to kind of put what was going on in his life on the back burner so that he could proceed with what it was that he really was passionate about. And most of us, that's one of the reasons I liked it, was most people don't do that anymore. We have these passions and these dreams and things that we want to, we would like to do, but we allow everything else in the world to tell us, no, you can't do that. This is what you're supposed to do. Especially with his father, like saying, no, you need to do this and you need to do that to make me proud and everything. And it was, it was obvious that no matter what he did, his father was going to be proud. But every dad has an idea of what they would like their child, or especially their son, to do. And he just needed to break away from that. And I love how an American songwriter was able to do that for him when you have this body of water separating everything. And it was kind of funny because, like, in England, they didn't even – Springsteen was like, they made fun of him. They were like, that's old people music. That's I think one guy says it's country music. And it's just kind of like – it's like that's not – they were all – yeah, they were all about the hair bands and and all of that. And so when he shows up with Springsteen tapes that he gets from another Pakistani guy –
right,
like it was just watching him hear it for the first time. I don't know about you, Keith, but like that was one of the moments where I cried, was when he listens to it for the first time and you see his eyes being completely opened. And I loved that about that particular scene. And I don't know what
I loved the scene when he threw his poems away and like the wind's blowing them everywhere and he's listening to Springsteen.
Yes.
And like that, like, yes, that, because that's when he first listens or whatever, and like that just like all of that in my mind. I was like, wow, that this is like the cinematography, everything that they did was
the lyrics
awesome.
Popping up on the wall, like in projection on
but
the
you see those in the
brick
trailer.
wall.
But I mean, I look forward to seeing them in the film.
I would say there's a part where the lyrics pop up and like there's a picture of his family and it's a picture frame and the lyrics pop up on the picture frame and it looks like one of those picture frames with like those
like when you buy it from the store and it's
when you buy it from the store and they have like
the silly sayings and stuff on them.
Yeah, they just have. But I mean, it's the lyrics from the song that are on the picture frame. And I was like, that's cool. I like how they did that.
Yeah. I thought the movie was going to be a musical when I saw the trailers, because you see the dance number in the street and him and his best friend and his girlfriend running and dancing and stuff. So I really thought it was going to end up being a musical, and actually that's how I sold my wife on going to see it, because she loves musicals. And I was like, this is going to be a musical, but it's all Bruce Springsteen, and she's not like a Springsteen fan.
But she was interested.
But she was like, yeah. And then when we get there, it's not a musical, but she really
aren't you
did
glad
like it.
though? Aren't you glad that it wasn't?
It could have went either way. I like the way the film ended up being, but I can see them doing a little bit more of a Greatest Showman or La La Land kind of a musical where there's a beefy story, and the acting
what
is
you were
there.
expecting.
That's what I was
That's what
expecting
you
it to
thought
be.
Kinda like
Yeah,
across the
but no,
universe.
it was really
Yeah,
good though.
across the
It was.
universe.
Oh yeah,
Right.
definitely.
But ultimately, too, I mean, I guess, well, Keith, I know you had somewhat wrote me before when you sent me the review to read it about how it somewhat compares to Yesterday, which is a film we absolutely loved.
Well, like I said in my review, it does and it doesn't. Like
Right.
they're completely different. But they do both use, a band to convey kind of the themes of what's happening during the movie.
Okay, and which did you prefer? Or just because I know they are
Really
different?
hard to say.
Yeah.
I think Blinded by the Light was a better movie,
Wow. Okay.
but Yesterday is more fun. But that makes sense though, because Yesterday's a romantic comedy, Blinded by the Light's a dramedy. So
Right.
it's definitely a better movie. And if you
Well,
wanna
and would
get
you
into the
say,
feels,
based on
Blinded by
like
the Light-
even how Blinded by the Light is the father-son story, do you think that resonated with you more too? Just it being that, and I guess
that did.
maybe speaking to your heart a little
That
bit
was
more
actually
there.
the one thing I was disappointed in this movie was Yesterday gets me because of like the relationship between him and Lily James. Like that
Right.
was really well done.
Yeah.
There is a small romantic subplot in this one, but it's not as well done. But it makes sense because they're focusing more on the father-son.
Yeah.
relationship.
Right.
So
Right.
it kind of just depends on what mood you're in. That's how I feel. It really
It's
is,
apples and oranges.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, Nathan, would you be interested? Because I know you're not a huge Springsteen
Well,
fan.
absolutely. And just hearing everything that's being said, I mean, when I initially saw the trailer, I was kind of worried because I was worried because I was like, is this going to kind of be, for lack of a better term, Disney princess territory where it's like, and hear me out on this.
Yeah,
where it's
please
like
explain.
The father has, like, the king has, like, this plan for, like, his daughter, you're going to grow
Almost
up,
like
you're going to be queen.
The
and
premise
it's
of
like,
Crazy Rich Asians, which actually was a good romantic comedy,
right.
but it was like this setup of
what
an
you're
arranged wedding
expected
or
to be
something. Right.
versus what your heart tells you. And I was just, but using Springsteen, who, I'm not the biggest Springsteen fan in the world, but in doing research for this and like going back and reading some of his lyrics, I'm like, holy crap. Like, this is actually some really good stuff. So if nothing, even if he's not my cup of tea, like, I can absolutely respect it because even lyrically speaking, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, this
A lot of
guy's
his
better than I
songs-
give him
a lot
credit
of the songs
for.
sound the same because of his voice,
Right.
and because of the music. I mean, the band, the E Street Band, is that what they're called?
I have no
But I mean,
idea.
a lot of it's kind of, it all sounds the same. Especially if you listen to an album straight through, every song kind of sounds very similar, but the lyrics are so different.
And
it's-
using that as a vehicle to kind of propel it so it doesn't become, like I said, like Disney princess, but I don't want to be queen. I want to be more. Or, and it keeps it from becoming that. And, the whole father-son relationship.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a father. So, yeah, why not? Why
So
not?
you're looking, it would be a movie that you would check out.
Well, yes. I mean, I probably would check out Yesterday before I do that, only because I'm more of a Beatles fan, more than I am a Springsteen fan. But I could definitely do both. I could go either way.
See, I haven't seen Yesterday, and hearing the review and everything, I want to see that. And I'm not a Beatles fan or a Springsteen fan, but if I walk away from Yesterday thinking the same way I did with this film, where it was kind of like, I didn't really like the music, but it stuck with me to the point where afterwards I have been listening to a little bit of Springsteen, and I can understand why, because I know what was going on in the time that the boss was writing
and it's almost
these
like
songs.
it breathes new life into the music.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like you sit here and it's like, okay, Springsteen himself might have had a reason for writing this, and it's cool to dive into that if you're a Springsteen fan.
Yeah, right.
But even if you're not, and you watch this film, and now all of a sudden
It's
you
gonna
have
spark
the
an
resonance of
interest
the film
in the music.
Yeah, and you're going to be thinking of the music and how it was portrayed in the movie, and then the movie and the story affecting you in that personal way. And it's like, of course it's going to now become that much more touching and emotional for you. Which again, that's the beauty of cinema, and that's the power of anytime a movie can touch you in that way, but also especially when it adds like that
boom,
extra flavor like Bruce Springsteen, you know, in this sense. So 3.5 out of 4 stars for Blinded by the Light. Definitely a movie worth checking out. Can't wait to see it myself. I guess, are we ready to move on to some headlines, guys?
Sure.
Keith,
do
are
it.
you still there with us? Or
I'm still here
are you going to stay on with us this week?
for as long as I can.
Oh,
wow.
Yay, oh,
I could
man.
probably stay through the headlines. I don't know if I'll be able to get
Okay.
through the.
Okay, well, we'll take you as long as we can get you.
You're
okay?
staying for the whole
That's
thing.
right.
You're
We
staying
want
for the
you
whole
here
thing.
for the whole thing, but we'll take you as long as we can have you. Okay.
All right.
You have a very comfy chair, by the way.
I like
Keith.
being had.
He's trying to take it from you. You better watch out, Keith.
Yeah.
Nathan's gunning for your chair.
I can't.
He said, you can't.
All right,
He's
well,
incapable.
Keith, I don't know if you had a chance to check out our notes for this week relating to the
I have.
podcast. So
I
know that
I saw.
Disney's not been having a great week.
They
Now-
haven't.
Before we hit on the biggest news, which most people are probably expecting us to talk about, which is the Sony Disney deal falling through.
Well, I sent you all that article, so
Well, I mean,
definitely
it's
knew that one.
But I know that, but it's been in the news. Everybody's been talking about it. I mean,
Attaboy.
Tom
Oh, yeah,
Holland
it's huge.
himself has left freaking
unfollowed
Sony on
Sony.
Instagram
Yeah.
and Twitter. He's like, screw you all, which
yeah,
he should
he
be.
was upset.
But the thing is that they also had a whistleblower. This is where I want
Yeah.
to. This is what I want to hit on first before
saw
we
that.
get into the Spider-Man stuff, because this is probably not what most people are thinking of in the fandom world.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is it would be a pretty big deal if Disney was inflating their revenue. And it's kind of funny that it would come in now at a time with Disney Plus about to launch
Yeah.
their own streaming service that's about to compete directly
But
head to
from
head
what I
with
read, it
Netflix.
was just the theme parks. It had nothing to do with.
But I mean, but the thing is Disney as a whole, it's giving them a bad taste in terms of the name.
Yeah.
But with it relating to the parks, that Disney's refuting it anyway. They're saying no, this is a bunch of hubbub, and that it's not really
Hubbub.
yeah, hubbub.
Hubbub.
I like that word.
Well,
Hubbub.
apparently the whistleblower is
What
is backing out or something too. So I don't know.
That's
I don't
what
know.
I'm
It all
thinking.
seems sketchy.
It does. It seems like, well, and the way Disney refuted the argument is they came out obviously vehemently denying these allegations, but then they also said that this person
would.
was
Who's going to
fired.
admit?
Yeah, but that's the thing you expect. You
Yeah.
expect any company to turn around and say, no, we would never. But the way that they came out and said it's absolutely untrue, unfounded, and not only that, but we fired this person a while back with cause, and they have every reason to come back and try to, go after us despite, what our intentions are of being honest. So I do happen to take Disney's side in this in terms of it seems like a disgruntled employee that was let go that's pissed at Disney, and because they maybe had some insider info.
You've got to think too, though. Like sometimes employees, even when they know something's going on, as long as they've got a nice cushy job,
Exactly.
they're not going to talk about it until that job doesn't exist. And then it's
Right.
like, what the hell else do I got to lose? So
Might
I'm
as
gonna-
well do it.
Yeah,
Very
might as
true.
well blow the whistle or
Blow
whatever.
it
but-
up.
Well, I mean, it was just about a month ago that Disney was in the headlines again about their attendance at the park since they built the Star Wars thing, the Galaxy's Edge, and they were saying something about that the attendance for the park had dwindled down. It was like one of the lowest attendances they've had this summer.
I
And
do
it was
remember
since that, but see, I saw a commercial the other night that said that thing doesn't even open until the 29th.
Right.
So it's like, how could that be affecting unless they opened it to some people early, but they were
Or if there's, it could be even that there's projections, and the projections of how well it's going to be received or how much their attendance is going to be.
yeah.
It could be that they're not going to have.
They were
a
coming
huge
out and kind of
turnout.
admitting that they had kind of a low turnout in the main, in Disney World. This summer, that it hasn't been as high
See,
as it.
And
but
I
they were
wonder if
saying, well,
maybe that article in and of itself has spawned this person, being recently
To
let go,
throw it out
to
there.
throw out there and kind of use that as evidence to be like, see, I do know what I'm saying, and I do have some insider info, and Disney is inflating their numbers. I mean, they said in 1 year there was a year. I forget. They didn't. I can't remember which year it was that Disney had inflated their numbers by $6 billion.
Holy crap!
I mean, that's a pretty big deal. Obviously, regardless of what Disney's saying and this whistleblower is saying, the fact is the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, is probably obviously going to be on top of this and be looking into it. Whether they can directly audit Disney based on that fact alone, and whether they have that right, and whether or not they believe they're in good standing or, hold Disney's word faithful and saying, no, okay, we trust that you all are not deceiving us.
Here's what you do, though. Okay, if it turns out it's true, here's what you say. Okay, look, we'll drop all the charges, no problem. Just stop making these crappy remakes.
Yeah,
and we will forget that anything ever happened.
But you can't say that because it's like I said. I think the only way we can keep that from happening is stop seeing them. I don't blame Disney.
America.
I blame the people seeing them.
Stop seeing these horrible movies.
You know, though, that we have to go see them to review them.
Yeah, but look, our freaking, we have AMC Stubbs A-list, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
And so if you pay that money,
of us do.
Some of us,
not all of us,
and then I'm not going to go see it. I'm not going to support it at all, even with AMC giving them a ticket stub saying I went and saw it. But the fact is that you have these people who go to see these movies, and that's why you have Lion King. Over $1 billion. What was the one just before Lion King? Aladdin, over $1 billion.
Yep.
And that's why they're talking about live-action sequels to the live-action films.
And doesn't that make you sad?
It's ridiculous.
That movies
sucks.
like Yesterday and Blinded by the Light.
Yes, they get overlooked.
They don't get that kind of shine.
No.
It's a pity.
It is. But
Much
again,
better.
I can't blame Disney for wanting to make a buck off when they know people are going to go see it. Whereas, I'm sorry.
So maybe Disney
I blame the people who go see it.
Maybe Disney got too big. Maybe they need to come back down.
So
a
just
couple notches.
skimming over this article, Disney said that their attendance was down 7%, which was the lowest in 4 years this summer, and they believe that it's because Galaxy's Edge is going to open at the end of August, and people are waiting until that opens to take their trip to Disneyland. So that was what they were talking about.
So they're trying to drum up some praise and success of saying, well, look, we're down now, but this is what we have coming.
Because of this.
Well, see, that does play into what we're talking about, though, because if they're announcing that their attendance is down, then how are they making $6.6 billion more? You know what I'm saying? So there's got to be some. If attendance is down, you're not making as much money.
Well, and that's the thing. That may have been just something where, they may be down now in this quarter, but they may be up for the year end.
Could be.
And it's one of those things where this person might have known about that info and used it as a way to say, look, I know what else is going on. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's one of those things where obviously if they have enough information that leads to, it's not just some kind of hunch. It's not somebody who's obviously just disgruntled and pissed off at Disney.
Yeah.
If it leads to something more that, they have valued information that people can say, okay, this actually seems legitimate. Like, we're going to look into this. Then Disney could be facing some serious.
Yeah, because this is coming right after they purchase Fox. So
yes.
They've got a lot of new IPs
assets
or whatever, a lot of new assets
Yep.
and everything.
They've been spending like crazy
because
because
a lot
of
of
their
money.
success.
Investors see that as you're losing money because you're spending it. But
and then they get even more scared because now it's like, oh, well, we need to be worried about how you're even handling your finances because you've been misreporting,
gobbling everything up.
Yeah, and if you are misreporting finances and you're not faithful at all to your investors, oh yeah, talk about. You end up with an Enron after that.
I like how it's just used as like that. You just pulled an Enron. It's like that's how you.
What do you hope? What do you hope happens? You hope they come clean. You hope that that's all just.
I think it's. I honestly. I think.
Go ahead.
For one, Disney's huge. I mean, I will say that it's like
they pretty much run the world.
And that's why it's twofold. It's almost like. Yes, I think they should be held accountable if they are being dishonest, and obviously if they're inflating their numbers to, project better sales and also to raise the revenue in the long run to try to get more investors. The problem is that are they too big to fail? Do you have them kind of being overlooked by certain people because of how much they have vested?
They own
in
everything.
Exactly, and so with that being the case. I'm a little bit more concerned. It's like anything. It's like your oil companies. It is like an Enron. It's like you get to this point where unless it's freaking staring you right in the face and there's no way you can deny it.
It's black and white.
And then people start frantically, buying up their stock and, pulling all of their their money out of Disney, and then all of a sudden it does go belly up. But I don't think you're going to have that. I just don't. I don't think that's coming anytime
So,
soon.
kids, if you're going to do something wrong, don't get caught.
That's right.
Indeed.
It is kind of funny if they really were doing this. You have one of the companies that was originally supposed to be this like I think we lost.
I
Keith.
think he lost. He was
Originally supposed to be this like honest and moral fortitude. Like it was supposed to be
Yes.
this
It's a
great company.
It's a family company.
A family company. It was supposed to promote family values and everything, and then they're dealing dirty. So it's kind of like if that's true, I hope they do come clean.
Money changes
because
people, man.
I know it does, but I would like for the company to still. One of the lessons that I would like for people to see from them is that if you do mess up, be honest about it.
Sure.
Come clean.
but
Ask for
also
forgiveness or whatever. But
not only that coming clean, but it's like the consequences are there.
yeah,
And I hate
Live
the
with
idea.
'em.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I hate the idea of too big to fail.
well, even if they
It's
are
like-
doing their numbers, like I said, like you said, I don't think they would ever go under. But I mean, nobody thought the Roman Empire would fall either.
True.
So I'm just like,
exactly.
it doesn't. You never know.
I mean, I thought Sears was going to be around forever. Okay.
Still get those catalogs.
Right there
do
with
ya?
Right there with you.
But let's move on to Disney's other problem. And this is more in our realm of what we like to discuss, which is revolving around the silver screen, the content at the end of the day in the theater.
Mhm.
And the fact is Sony and, we were all happy about, a couple years ago when this deal went through that Sony and Disney were going to work together so that Spider-Man could be relaunched to be in the MCU. He would get his own standalone films, but he would also be in the MCU and be in the Avengers and be included such that he would have a much bigger reach within the Marvel universe,
Yep.
since Spider-Man is such a huge intellectual property. Yet now we're coming up after Far From Home becomes Sony's most successful film this year and overseas, that now it's like they're at the table bargaining with Disney to set a new deal. Disney's saying, we want 50-50 production rights. We want everything that you have. We'll go in and produce the film, but we want everything, a little bit more than what we're getting now. We're not just taking
It was 5%.
5%, but it was
now they want 50.
well, it was 5%, but it was also all of the memorabilia rights, all of the merchandising,
okay.
all of that
I gotcha.
was also included in that. So, but then again, yeah, you're right, 5%, and look at how much freaking Spider-Man Far From Home made. It's a lot of money on the table, which is why I think Sony's like, no, that's our IP.
Can you blame them?
I can't. I'm not going to blame them. And what they see is I think Disney, and not just Disney, but Marvel Studios kind of hands tightening around their neck. And so Sony's kind of like, now wait a sec. We made this deal with you. We're trying to stand our ground to obviously soak in this money that we're getting from this character and take it in, because at the end of the day, hey, this is our property. We want to make money off of it.
It's
You've
our
got
baby.
all of the Marvel universe that
See,
you're
this
making
is
money
this
off
is one
of.
thing I don't understand. If Disney is the biggest company,
Right.
why don't they buy the rights to Spider-Man? They got the money to pay cash for it.
I don't
Like,
know
why
if
don't
it's
they
up for
just do it?
sale. I don't think Sony's willing to sell it
It's
because they
almost-
know they can make that much
It almost
more on
looks like Disney and Marvel, like they made these two films. They gave fans what they wanted.
Right.
Yep.
They incorporated it into the MCU in a way that you can't take him out now.
Nope.
I mean, he's Iron Man's heir to the front. I mean, you can't really take him out. So it puts Sony in a bind to where they can't really step away without committing suicide with that character. So I mean, the only thing they can do is what they did before and reboot it. And I mean, because I really don't think you're going to be able to. They're not going to be able to come to the terms that Disney wants.
I don't think so.
I don't think that's going to be possible.
I
But
think
Disney's got them in a position where they can't really. They can back out, but it's gonna.
But
it's gonna hurt.
and I
It's
think
gonna
that's
hurt 'em. Yeah.
and I think that's what Sony is expecting. I think what Sony's counting on is saying, listen, you're in way deeper than we are in this. You're the ones that stand to benefit more than us. So why don't you pay us our dues to use our property? And I think that's the thing. I think Sony, if you really think about it, they would maybe negotiate for much less, even if it was 30%.
Yeah.
30%. It's like but with that saying, we don't know what was going on behind closed doors.
Right,
We don't know if Sony was edging them out more, and every time Disney kind of was giving up a little bit, Sony would be like, "We'll give up more." Or we don't know how the negotiations went.
Right.
But the key here is, I think, I still think the ball is in Sony's court in terms of, at the end of the day, I think Marvel has shown that they can handily make changes on a whim, and they can actually change the way like the Marvel universe is shaped, such that not just write out a character, they can jokingly write him out when people know what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
But also, I think they have a chance, and they obviously have a much bigger playbook to play by to get Spider-Man out. Would it be fantastic? No. I think it would be terrible. But it really is up to Sony now, because they can take Spider-Man. They could throw him in a movie with Venom now that they have Tom Hardy's Venom.
Yep.
They can try to use the same Spider-Man you've known from the MCU, because it is still their character. And they can try to go out and maybe not include, obviously they can't include him in the Marvel universe, because then Marvel's coming over and say, don't you dare dare try to use any of the things that have been going on in the Marvel universe in your film.
Mm-hmm.
But if Sony makes a halfway decent Spider-Man film, that doesn't rewrite who Spider-Man is. They use Tom Holland because Tom Holland
they
and
can
the
create
same
their
director,
own universe.
right?
I mean, with Spider-Man, because there's a lot of characters that go along with that.
With Spider-Man
yeah,
alone,
like you said, Venom and Carnage and all of that. And it almost looks to me like that's maybe what Sony had up their sleeve anyway when they made Venom. Was this like, we're gonna, if this deal ever does fall through, we need to have a foundation to fall back on with Spider-Man. So it's almost like a strategic move, because they even set that movie, the Venom movie, is set up with Carnage too. So it's kind of like, it was the Venom film that set up, at the end, it set up something for Carnage. I think I'm right. I don't know. Keith will probably correct me. It might have been.
Call back, Keith.
Might have been the end of
Call
Homecoming.
back. Why'd you hang
was
up
it the
on
end of
us?
Homecoming, or was it at the end
I
of Venom?
honestly, I never saw
But-
Venom.
Oh, you didn't see Venom?
No, I didn't see Venom.
It's not that great.
That's
but
what I heard, and that's
that's
what
the
makes
problem.
me scared.
That's where Sony's
about-
going to go with a Spider-Man.
Exactly.
It's not going to be that great.
And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the fact that while the ball is in Sony's court, and we have seen 2 standalone Spider-Man films that have been good, but the problem is that's been with Marvel backing it.
Right.
And that's why I'm sitting here saying, look, the reason they want 50-50 is because Marvel, it's not just because they're Disney and they can throw their weight around. It's because, look, they're footing the bill for not only making these films, but they're the reason they're a success.
Exactly.
And so now you're trying to play off their success that you've had with them to try to break away from them and say, no, we're not going to give you the piece of the pie that you want.
Yeah.
And because we're not going to do that, we're going to bank off the success we've already had. There was one tweet, I forget who it was from, but they jokingly were talking about, like, great, so Sony is now continuing Sam Raimi's Spider-Man after 3. And I was like, so basically what it is fans are rubbed the wrong way because they see it as Sony being greedy and saying, no, we don't want to give up this money to Disney. And, but I understand it from Sony's perspective, saying this is our IP. But at the same time, it's like it is wrong for Sony to sit there and act like the success that they've had with the character isn't because of Marvel.
Yeah.
And it's like, so now you're going to take the success that you have had, and I know they'll rightfully probably sit there and say, now listen, it's not like we just gave this to Marvel and only gave them a small little pittance, and we made all this money off of it. Yeah, we made a majority of money, but they still got all the merchandising rights.
Yeah.
They still got 5% of the film. It's like they're still going to say, hey, we gave them what we agreed to.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's the whole point of drawing up a new deal.
Yeah, there was a deal struck. Sony knew that Spider-Man was gone, he was going out. He was far from home. Like they knew that. And that's why they struck the deal with Disney and Marvel, was to bring him back on track.
Yes.
And I think, their most recent statement was about Kevin Feige. And it basically, they said, like, there's been a lot of misrepresentation of this situation in the news headlines and all this stuff, and they don't even mention the 50-50. They just flat out say, like, Disney or Marvel said Kevin Feige doesn't need to work on an IP that we don't even own. He needs to spend more of his attention, put more attention on the MCU, which we do own. So Sony says, they said, fine, if you need to give your attention somewhere else, then we'll do it ourselves, and we don't need your input. You put us on the right. Their statement says he put us on the right path, and we feel like we can continue on that path as we move forward, and keep it true to the character that he helped usher in. So that, to me, almost sounds like you don't really know who to believe in this situation,
right?
And that makes it even more difficult as a fan because I want him to stay in the MCU.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they feel like they can play off of what Marvel and Kevin Feige have done with that character, then let them go on their own again.
Yeah.
But after what I've seen from them previously, I don't have a lot of confidence in it, and that's my issue. Is like it's not a money thing. It's just keep that character the way he is now.
Yes,
and
that's why that is again why I say it's in the ball's in their court.
Yeah.
With the success that they've had since they've relaunched after the horrible Amazing Spider-Mans, after those two films flopped. Or well, the first one was a success, the second one flopped. But the fact is after they rebooted it successfully within the Marvel universe, it's like if Sony tactfully, actually, I mean, and that's the thing. I've started to see a turning of the tide even with them in terms of the films that they're starting to take notice of. They're not just trying to do a simple cash grab. They're trying to do a cash grab in terms of quality. It's like, oh, we're actually going to make sure we have a quality film.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's why I think if Sony continues the Tom Holland Spider-Man, because he's still attached to it, the same director's still attached to the movie. They both signed deals, regardless of who's making it.
Yeah.
So if they still use the same character and they just write it in such a way that it's focusing just on a Spider-Man an event there alone without all of the attachment to the MCU, it can be pulled off. Do I think it'll make fans happy? No, because there is no hope for a bigger... I mean, that is part of why the Marvel Universe has been so successful.
Yes.
Is you go and see the film, and it's not just, here's a hero, here's a bad guy, he beats the bad guy at the end, or the hero kills the bad guy by the end of the movie, everybody's happy. Yep. It's how does this tie into a bigger, major story?
Well, every character rubs off on other characters.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's, how are you going to have a Spider-Man movie where he doesn't quote Tony Stark? I mean, you literally they would not even be allowed to say his name in a film if it's not attached to Marvel. Yeah. And it's just like, how are you going to have Spider-Man becoming the actual man that he's supposed to become
when that's a story arc
without Tony Stark's inspiration and his pushing him forward? So I just don't see how they can make this standalone film without...
and I think that's why fans are torn, and I'm in that camp too.
I think even Tom Holland's torn.
Yeah, exactly.
He quit following him on Instagram.
Yeah, he's ticked.
Like,
but that's why
juvenile,
I'm in the same boat as all the other fans where it's like, listen, this is one of those things where business gets in the way of what the fans want to see.
Exactly.
And we want them to come to the table. And I still think there's hope. I think that both Sony doesn't want to piss fans off. Disney wants to, still make the movies with, to make the cash that they are making off of it. They don't want to lose, their interest also in making a crap ton of money. But I'm still hopeful. I'm still hopeful that there is going to be a deal between the two companies. It's going to take longer than we expect, but they will arrive at something. And for the time being, everybody's up in arms. But I still think we'll see another Spider-Man appearance in the MCU. Even if we see maybe 2 more Spider-Man movies standalone without Marvel's help. And I think if you see any little drop in those movies, Sony will rush back to the table to clamor and say, Marvel, please. And the thing is Disney is not going to be stupid enough to try to, in spite, say...
No, they're going to smell blood in the water.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're going to go after it and say, hell yeah, we'll take it. Absolutely. You want to give it to us now? Let's
we want
work
out a new deal.
Yeah. It's like, now we want our 50-50.
Yeah.
And they'll have to, at that point.
That's so tough because, it's like you don't want to bow down. Like, I get it because, you kind of... like we established before, Disney owns everything. They pretty much run the world. So it's like, but then again, it won't be great. Like, I get it because it's like, you want to stand on your own. I don't want to bow to the man.
Yeah.
Like, I can do this.
But it's funny because it's like Sony's just as much of the man. They're not as big.
Not
nearly as big as Disney.
True.
But still, they're making their money off of Spider-Man, and
they're not doing poorly by any means, but still.
It's not Disney.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's still funny because it's like at the end of the day, it's like, okay, all right, Sony's getting a little itch in their pants, and they're like, Mom, Dad, I could do this on my own. Okay, it's like, all right, well, we'll see.
I'm a big boy now.
Yeah,
we'll see.
To take off the training wheels.
All right, guys, you ready to move on to our unique weekly segments?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh crap!
What happened?
Oh my gosh!
There's no sound.
It is. It's just really, really faint. Should we just run through that again? Should I do that again?
Just start it over.
Hold on, I gotta. There's a
terrible.
reason because I used the same plug
For Keith?
for talking to Keith, and
It's
he hung
his
up
fault.
on us.
It's his fault.
He hung up on us. So even when he's not here, he's ruining the show.
Man.
Thanks a lot, Keith.
Freaking idiot.
Now you're gonna hear a pop. Hold on, y'all ready for this pop? It's gonna be real. Oh, it's gonna be annoying. Oh, it wasn't.
No, I didn't hear it.
Huh.
Okay, good.
Was I supposed to hear it?
No, because I muted it. All right, now let's do that intro again.
Nice.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
That's right, it's story time.
We probably could have just done without that.
Why?
No.
I love it. I'm just kidding.
That's the first.
I like giving Aaron a hard time.
That's the first time I've heard that. That was glorious.
Well, now we know who doesn't listen to the show.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And you're never being a guest host again.
I just troll in the comment section.
Yeah.
we know you don't listen. You
don't
just
listen.
troll. But thanks, Nathan. Keith ruins the show, then you come on here and just say you don't care about us. Okay.
Keith, we're gonna start our own show.
What's
How about
our
that?
unique weekly segment? Say it again.
Well, we teased it a little bit there at the beginning of the show, but we were talking about music that inspired us. Specifically, if you can remember the first time you heard a piece of music that was inspirational to you. Kind of like Blinded by the Light with Bruce Springsteen being an inspiration for that character, how it got him through rough times. That is what we're talking about, is music that inspired us. What about you guys?
I'm not going first.
So you're
okay.
not? Is it going to be a tearjerker?
No.
Oh,
No, I'll go first, but I do want to clarify. So we're talking about something that inspired us, lifted our spirits, or
Could be
a
anything.
piece of music
Honestly,
that made us feel something.
Touched you. A piece of music the first time you're like, okay, because I'll be honest with you. It's like when you're a kid and you're sitting there, it's like anything. I mean, you all know with kids, it's like, heck, I could listen to Barney and like love the Barney theme. But Barney's theme didn't inspire me, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit.
I love
I
you.
sing it.
You
But
love me.
I sing it to my son every day.
You do?
I do.
That's sweet.
So maybe
Does
it
he-
did.
Is he inspired by it? Do you think so?
Well, he just sits there and looks at me. He doesn't
Well,
really.
Someday he's going to be
Yeah.
like, Dad,
Why did you do that?
don't you ever sing that song again.
Oh,
But that's the
gosh.
thing. So that's a little bit different because it's something that you got these jingles and these tunes you
Yeah.
grow
Yeah,
up with
yeah.
and you hear. But it's like the first time you heard a piece, like a song,
Sure.
and it just resonated with you, and you were like, "That's what music does to you."
Mm.
Like it was kind of, it sets off this little almost gives you cold chills. What was there? Is there anything that you can remember?
Well, I do have an answer, but just a side note. My son loves the song. What is it? The John Lennon song "War Is Over."
oh,
So this is Christmas.
Oh,
I hate
And
that
what have you
song.
done? My son Joshua loves that song.
Really?
He
It's
loves
awful.
that
It
song.
lights up when that comes on.
He lights up. War is over. He just sits there.
Wow.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
No,
but back to
his
the topic.
reaction. That song's terrible. He's gonna learn when he grows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know you're a
But-
John Lennon fan.
Well.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Admit it.
Okay. I'm a John Lennon fan. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. First piece of music that made me feel something, probably when I was 3 years old, and I saw the film Bambi, which, the original, not Bambi 2, and all
Not the
that.
live action Bambi
Yeah,
that's
not
coming
the-
out next year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or the live action Bambi that happens every fall.
But if you've seen the movie, it's pretty, it's pretty heavy. There's a lot of stuff that gets tackled, like
Yeah.
the death of a parent and having to kind of go through all that. But probably the earliest thing that I remember was whenever the main antagonist, man, dum dum dum, comes into the woods looking to, shoot the deer, throreaten their lives.
Just hungry,
He's
is all.
just hungry. He just wants to make some jerky.
Mm.
But that 3-note motif starts to play, which I know for the film Jaws, they kind of borrowed from this film, the dun 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 dun. And I remember specifically, even at 3 years old, I was just like, holy crap. Like, I'm terrified right now. Because it's, and it's still probably, in my opinion, one of the best uses of a villain ever in a Disney film. It would be in my top for the simple fact that you never see him.
Yeah, you don't see him.
You never see him. There's no visual representation of what he is, you know.
It's like it's just the thought.
It's just the presence,
right?
Yeah. And that motif kind of plays into that. It's like, and it builds, and it's just at any second this guy could come around the corner with a gun and get me. And even at 3 years old, I felt that, and I was just like, whenever those scenes would come on, I would leave the room. Like I would go in the garage and wait for the scene to be over, and then I would go back in the house and watch the rest of the movie. So just that impact of holy cow.
Yeah.
You know? So for me, it would probably be Bambi.
Okay.
Wow,
Sean, what about you? And again, it doesn't have to revolve around music or a movie. It doesn't have to revolve like that.
No. I'm really struggling to find like a specific song or artist that like inspire. Like there's a lot of different inspirations that come from different songs that I've heard.
Yeah.
And I can't really pin down the first, but I mean, my thing was like when I was little, the only music I heard was the music that my mom listened to.
Yeah.
Because my dad was at work, so my mom was at home, and she listened to, she listened to everything. She listened to Elton John. She listened to Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, Aerosmith, like all the 80s and 90s hair bands. Like she listened to so much rock and roll.
Your mom's hardcore, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty sure she listened to that when I was in the womb. But I mean, I just grew up listening to her music.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like just that style of music.
Well, it's like she gave you.
Well, it's kind of weird because like I grew
almost.
up wanting to play music. Like it was just like a fantasy of mine was to be a musician, which I was. Only thing I learned how to play was the drums, and I got good at it. But you know, Def Leppard inspired me to be a drummer because of the one-armed drummer. Like I saw what
it
that
wasn't
guy.
Because of
it wasn't because of the song. No, it was just because I realized this guy like can play better with one freaking arm than I'll ever play with two, and it pushed me forward to practice more and to take lessons and to quit lessons because they weren't challenging me enough, and to just so there was that. But I mean, I learned humility from Jackson Brown's The Loadout.
Oh, man.
I mean, like she listened to that, and I heard when I first heard that song, I was just
Pretender.
Like, yeah,
those are some good
but
ones.
hearing the guy that's getting paid the big bucks to sing, and play the piano, sit up on stage and sing a whole song about his appreciation for the guys that set the stage up, and tear everything down. Like I learned humility from listening to a song like that, and there's lots of different songs and bands and their stories and stuff that have kind of given me different inspirations throughout my life. Like I went through, my wife can tell you, but I went through like this period where it was Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
I've heard about this.
Everything is political. Don't drink the water because we killed Indians. And like, I mean, I listened to this like, and now I can't stand it. It's like as I've grown older, now I'm just like, that guy's way too. Everything's like so crazy liberal left with him. So now I don't even listen to it anymore. It's like one of my favorite artists, and I've moved past that because I'm not mad at everything anymore.
That actually but that's funny. That
really
actually
weird,
may be another like topic of hand too, which for another time. But like music that you used to love that you just can't stand now, whether it's the message or it's just like you just fell off the. I mean, it's like, come on, I was a Backstreet Boy fan for good.
I never did that.
I still love Backstreet.
I never liked any kind of pop music.
I'm telling you,
and I get that's because of my mom.
It was a dream of mine to be in a boy band.
Yeah, we could, man, Nathan. If I would have known you in elementary school,
that's crazy.
We could have started a boy band,
dude.
I would have never sang. I was terrible.
No strings attached. I knew that album backwards and forwards. Upside.
So wait, were you a BSBer or an NSYNC guy?
Growing up,
what were you?
Don't forget 98 Degrees.
Yeah,
we all know they failed. Okay, Nick Lachey
was the only one who can sing in that group. No offense, but he's the only one who's worth a crap. But now, growing up, I was an NSYNC kid. But now, as I've gotten older, I'm kind of BSB.
That's right. That's right. They had the real talent. I'm just saying. Everybody, I love Justin. Okay.
Longevity, man.
Yeah, he's got it.
Longevity.
But at the end of the day, BSB's just got all the hits. Okay, still saying
Sorry.
but no, I think that it's funny you brought up that, Sean, because that immediately made me think of all the times that I went down, like when we would travel on vacation, and there were a lot of music. I mean, for one, my brother and sister just being older than me in general definitely influenced my musical taste.
Yeah.
And which I thank God. I mean, they gave me a lot of good, very like differentiation between whether it was the 80s music or pop or hair bands versus, it was rock or even, classical music from my brother. I mean, there was just a plethora. But I mean, specifically talking about like my parents, it's like this intro into what I would always call oldies, and some of it didn't even fit into that. Bluegrass. I never listened to Alison Krauss before they picked her up, and then listening to her on the way down to like Gulf Shores or over to New Smyrna, and it was like we listened to that. Simon and Garfunkel. I was introduced to them on family road trips.
And
it's
like
like
a bridge.
yeah, but that's the thing is it's like there were definitely those moments that it's because of my family and their influence on me that I listen to a lot of those songs, and they mean something because of that childhood that it touches inside in my mind.
But can you pinpoint?
Well, no, that's why. I mean, like, there's so many musical influences from them that, like, that wouldn't be my one specific moment. Yeah. But when you touched on, like, your mom and listening to the music when you were growing up with her, like, it just made me think of all those times. But for me specifically, the one time I remember, and this is just one instance, and it'd be funny if my family even knew what I was talking about. They definitely remember this. But, like, I was probably, like, I guess 7 or 8, maybe at, like, 6 or 7. And I know, big difference, okay?
A lot can happen in a year.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, those are some formative years, okay? But it's like, I remember I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan, all right? Not of the person, but the music.
We're talking music here.
Right,
Stay
music.
with the music.
I mean, the guy is the king of pop for a reason, okay?
No.
And I remember
debate.
when, I don't know what it was about his music, but just hearing Billie Jean for the first time, and falling in that and Thriller, where I fell in love with Michael Jackson because of those two songs. And there was this one time where they were celebrating on VH1, they were celebrating his birthday, and they were playing his music videos all day long. And so I sat there and I had this little kid recorder, and I wanted to be a musician. Can't carry a tune, but I wanted to be a musician when I was younger. And so, like, who doesn't? Who doesn't want to live the rock star? Yeah, you're singing. And so I had this recorder, this little kid recorder. And instead of recording I just thought it was cool to be able to talk into it and you record yourself and like you could play it back. And it was just like, oh man, that's my voice. That's so cool. So like, I remember this one day they were celebrating Michael Jackson's birthday on VH1, and I got my recorder out and I went up to the TV, this huge console television, and I stuck my microphone right up to the speaker and I recorded every single song that they played that day. And after it was done, like we ended up having to go on some, I don't know, visit. I think we went to like a rock quarry or something. I can't remember. I'm serious. I do remember this day because we got in the car and I remember taking my little cassette player with all the songs I recorded. And then I just sat there and listened to him and played
At
it
the
back.
rock quarry.
I mean,
At the rock quarry.
My family went to the rock quarry all the time.
See?
No, I don't.
My family never went to the rock quarry. We weren't that cool. We couldn't afford the rock quarry,
My dad
man.
took me to the woodshed once.
So that would be first. I would say Michael Jackson.
Nice.
But then to really, really quickly get it out there, we were kind of talking about it a little bit before the show with this topic. That was music that inspired me, like just from hearing it, and it resonated with me. And then, of course, whenever I really started my love of film and really critiquing, but being intrigued by film and watching films for more than just entertainment value, but to learn techniques, is when I started to pay attention to the score. And then, of course, with my brother learning classical piano, and then him listening to classical music, I kind of got my love for orchestral music from that. And so I really do pay attention to not only scores in movies, but also just the very one that I remember, which is very obscure, and most people who listen to classical music would scoff. They'd be like, what? Would be Michael W. Smith's orchestral album. He wrote and conducted the album called Freedom. So it's all orchestral. It's just musical tracks that he wrote that have a theme to it.
Mhm.
But then also another one was Gustav Holst's The Planets. So everybody's heard Mars. Everybody's heard, like, you know, if you've heard, in fact, Star Wars, John Williams got a lot of inspiration from Holst's The Planets. So if you go and listen to any of those, you can hear themes of Star Wars that he picked from that.
Oh, wow.
But if you can, listen to Jupiter. And I think it's like at the 4-minute, 13-second mark. I'm telling you right now, it is one of the most beautiful pieces of music that you will ever hear orchestral. My sister actually played in Valley High School's band, and she played the French horn solo. I don't know if it was in Jupiter or if it was another piece. But it's just, Jupiter is a beautiful piece of music. Go listen to that, and there's a section in it specifically that's just, I don't know. I love it. I love it.
Get a little
man.
itch in
I
your
do.
pants over some
I do.
Jupiter.
So I got a nerdy side
I think
too. All right.
Jupiter is ascending. sorry, I couldn't help it. Couldn't help it.
No, don't do that.
The big red hole.
Oh, God. The big red hole. Oh, my goodness.
No, all right.
Where did we go?
I don't know, but I think we're wrapping it up there.
Wow. I thought it was the big red spot, but
That
now
was
it's the big
red
red
hole.
It's the big, yeah.
All right, guys. I think we're done with this episode. Nathan, thank you for joining us.
As
Yes.
always.
Thank you for coming on here and filling in, you know.
As always, a pleasure.
You know what you could do, Nathan, if you wanted to come back on here?
What could I do?
You could email us. You know how to email us, Nathan?
Why, certainly. I email you, right?
Yeah, you got
I
it.
got it.
Point your left hand a little bit more towards. No,
That's your right.
That's your right hand. There you go. You got it right there. That's it. And do you remember our email address?
Not at all.
Of course he doesn't. You can email us at rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
Where?
I'll tell you again.
rmpodcast
at
redmoonproductions.com.
That was beautiful.
That was in
Now,
unison.
how did you all get that? And we can't
can't
see you at the
Yeah,
movies.
we
Like, we
can't
can't
do it.
get that for nothing.
Years of working together.
There you go.
There you go.
That's what it is.
Yep.
But that's why we have Jason at the end. Jason Neer, he says it in our closing anyway.
All right, well.
So, but Sean, why don't you just go ahead and repeat it for all our listeners out there?
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Just beautiful. I'm telling you. Gosh sakes.
Practice.
Until next time, guys, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and filling in for Mr. Keith Cheatham.
Mr. Nathan Curry.
So until next time, we will
see you at the movies.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.